Welcome, everyone, and council members, are there any, we do have a quorum with the absence of Councilmember Leifeld. Council members, are there any corrections to the minutes of the workshop and regular meeting on September 7th? Seeing none, they are approved. Tonight, we have public comments from the audience, and we have options for comments to be mailed prior to the meeting, as well as interactive featured during the meeting. For the emailed comments, they have been forwarded to City Council, and their receipt is acknowledged. Please recognize that items not on the agenda will not be discussed at this meeting. For live comments, they may either be through Zoom link or in person. We ask that attendees either raise their hand in person or use the raised hand feature in Zoom, and they will be invited to speak one at a time. I also remind everyone that the public comment period is not intended for an extended dialogue. Is there anyone in the council chambers that would like to speak to the council at this time? Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak at this time? I see none. Okay. Council items to be considered. Council members, are there any council items to be considered? Okay, and council, I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda. Okay, and Councilmember Fulch with a seconded by Councilmember Fox. And any discussion, council? All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed state by saying nay. And that motion prevails. Tonight, under Community Development, we have an authorized signature for the purchase and development agreement, sale of property, NSJ Development, the former UBC site. And tonight with us, we have Economic Development Coordinator Eric Moss. Eric, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Council, as was presented there, on your agenda this evening is a request for your review of a proposed purchase and development agreement related to 3 properties for the UBC North site. Stencil Group, NJS Development LLC, seeks to acquire those 3 parcels. They're proposing to acquire them for $175,000, which is the assessed value of the 3 properties according to Dakota County. If approved, Stencil would move forward to the next step, which would be submitting land use entitlements for a multifamily apartment project on the site. NJS Development Stencil Group has also acquired 1 private residence adjacent to this site to assist with essentially space they need for the proposed project. If approved, here's a handful of details that are laid out within the development agreement. I won't go through each of them, but wanted to lay out kind of the big targeted points, especially related to dates for how this would go through. This developer is a little bit ahead of the game in terms of when they would actually want to start construction. That would be about April. And looking to commence by May 1st, 2022, wrap it up by 2023, and be open to city residents at that time, or new residents to the community. With respect to city council, would require vacation of half of the alleyway between the mid-block point. It would not affect any private residences. Where it would be terminated would still allow access to the 1 property at 313 Tyler Street, access to their private detached garage. We're not looking for any vacation of right-of-way at this meeting. That would come when the land use application comes, but just to make you aware that that would be part of the agreement. Hedra reviewed this at their meeting this month. It passed unanimously on a 5-0 vote. Staff also recommends adoption of the resolution, which is presented to you this evening, with 1 minor modification following consult with City Attorney Land. There's in the findings, there's 2 of them, one of which is more specifically tied to Hedra and their powers, and so it's not necessary for council to have that in their findings. And so with that, staff is requesting a motion to approve the resolution, including your packet, amended as presented, to approve the purchase and development agreement for NJS Development LLC. And with that, I'll stand with questions.
Thank you, Eric. Council, any questions for Eric tonight? Okay, seeing no questions, I'd ask for a motion to approve a resolution approving the sale of the property to NJS Development LLC for development purposes purposes and approving the related development agreement.
Motion to approve.
Councilmember Brox, and a second by Councilmember Fulch. Additional discussion, council, or any new discussion? Okay, all those in favor of this motion, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, state nay. And that motion prevails. Thank you, Eric.
You bet.
And tonight, our KOA storage is a 2699 Commerce Drive, and we need a resolution, special use permit for a mini storage, and a resolution for the site plan, construction of mini storage buildings. And tonight with us, we have city planner Justin Fortney with us. Welcome, Justin.
Yep, thank you, Mayor Fassbender and council members. This property was originally developed as an asphalt business in 1998 and added mini storage in 2006 and again in 2011. The property has recently been purchased by KO Storage, and they're proposing to add a couple of buildings. The zoning ordinance allows industrial uses in the I-1 district by right and retail services like mini storage with a special use permit. Conditions are allowed to be placed on a special use permit approval to assure that they are compatible with the area. Mini storage has generally had little impact to areas when outdoor storage is not allowed. Property owners within 350 feet were sent notice of the special use permit, and we received no comments. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the site plan in your packet and on the screen now. And the applicants contacted us today with a request to consider the minor change to the site plan. Due to the existing building on the middle of the site is a shop and office building, and in the past has been used by businesses that have large trucks. And they believe that the location of that southern building would impede the use of large trucks being able to get into that building. So they've proposed deleting that building and adding on another 25 feet to this northern building. The difference in square footage is 60 square feet less. This is the site plan that the Planning Commission reviewed and approved, showing the third building there, and this would be the difference. Ideally, we'd like the Planning Commission to review the final site plan, but due to the impact of the changes, not having any change to the setbacks of the buildings, drive aisles, access points, and parking lot, it's not necessary to go back to the Planning Commission. These are some photos of the site as viewed from the street. There's three different kind of style buildings that are on the site. There's the shop building, which is all steel with a little bit of wainscoting of brick on the bottom. And then there's a steel building in the back with a low-pitched roof. And then a little bit, this is looking at the shop building on the left side of it, and then the right side of it. And on the very far left of the screen, you can see these are the three existing storage buildings that are have split-faced masonry units. It's kind of like a rough cement block, colored. And the code requires that any elevations that are visible from the public rights-of-way have to have improved materials, and also new additions and new sites on existing sites are supposed to blend in with with the existing buildings. So with that, these are some examples of buildings that the applicants have at another one of their sites. In order to comply with our elevation requirements, they're proposing to have stone veneer on the elevations of the north building that are visible from the public right-of-way. And that would include, on this site plan, these yellow lines are showing the elevations that would have the stone veneer. That would be the same color as the CMUs that are on those existing buildings on that same side of the site. This building labeled as Building 2 is not visible from the street as much because it's behind this large building, and it's because of the grade. It's hard, you can't really see much of that building. In addition, the buildings that are adjacent to that building don't have a great amount of masonry on them. They're all, this building in the rear is all steel, and the one in the front is with some wainscoting on it. And this is an example of the stone veneer that would be on the building where it was highlighted with yellow. The applicants are also in attendance here and brought in a sample. And with that, I can stand for any questions, and the applicants can also answer questions if there's something for them.
Thank you, Justin. Council discussion, any questions for Justin? Councilmember Fulch.
Thank you, Justin. So just for clarification, why this is a special use is specifically because they want to put in that building 2 that will be used for, as a kind of like a lease option for a third party? Is that what's making it a special?
The reason it's a special use permit is because in the industrial district, you can have industrial type storage, warehousing, but if you want any type of a retail use where retail customers will come in, it has to be a special use. And mini storage is generally going to be used by retail customers, homeowners that are going to individually lease out spaces.
Oh, okay, but they already have a special use then, obviously, to be using the property as it is currently, and so this is just extending that a little bit further.
It's an expanded use, correct?
Okay, all right, thank you for the clarification on that.
Any other questions, council? Councilmember Fulch.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to approve this special use permit and site plan as presented by staff.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Fulch. And Councilmember Fox with a second. Additional or new discussion, council? All those in favor of this motion, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, state by saying nay. And that motion prevails. Thank you, Justin. Tonight, under administration, we have a COVID-19 and a Delta variant update. And for this item, Dan Waticha will be talking to us about that.
Thank you, Mayor. As you all recall, we have had this on the agenda for the last couple of meetings. We have seen in Dakota County the incidence of COVID increasing over the last month or couple of months. In early August, I did put in place a requirement for city employees while indoors to mask unless they were able to consistently maintain social distance, so potentially a larger meeting room or something such as that. There's a couple of other exceptions, such as governmental legislative body meetings, such as the city council this evening. Additionally, things such as plexiglass, providing an engineered means for social distancing. Discussion at the last city council meeting had several questions, one being if we were to raise the standard and require, rather than encourage, but require visitors to city buildings to mask. What would that look like in terms of number of visitors, as well as some specific questions about enforcement? And then there also were some questions around indoor athletic events, which pretty much would be limited to the arena. In checking with our front desk staff at the buildings, the voluntary compliance with, or voluntary following the recommendation, encouragement to wear a mask by visitors really ranges. City Hall, which probably has the most visitors, it's probably around 90%. At the Public Works Building, which does not have much in terms of walk-up visitors, it's the opposite. It's probably about 10% do that. The Parks Department, somewhere over half wearing a mask. There's certainly some things that we could do with making sure that the signage is, you know, although there's a sign at every door, is it visible or is it potentially mixed in with other signs? Do we put it on a bright paper or something to make it stand out? In terms of enforcement, envision that if we were to have some requirement for visitors, we would take an approach similar to what we did last year when there was a state mandate for masks, and it being more of an education request type approach. So if somebody were to come into the building without a mask, we would indicate that city policy that everybody be masked, and ask that they put one on. We do have disposable masks currently at the front counters of all the buildings, but we would not get into anything confrontational at forcing somebody to put on a mask or telling them that they had to leave if they did not comply with it. So still a bit of a voluntary approach to it. In terms of questions about the arena, currently we do not require visitors, period, to wear masks. It's voluntary. That is consistent with the CDC recommendation, as well as the Minnesota State High School Association, or State High School League's recommendations for high school sports that would not require participants to mask, but does recommend that spectators or visitors or those that are not participating in the athletics to be masked. It also does have currently a recommendation for pods or cohorts or other ways to increase social distancing among your participants. Some of that's similar to ways that we addressed COVID response during our athletic activities over the past year. Obviously, this past year, the regulations changed frequently, so can't say it was the same all the time, but certainly consistent there. So that's to answer the questions. Obviously, there's some policy matter before council at where its feelings are or other clarification, but staff's recommendation, my recommendation is to maintain our existing requirements on employees only, not on visitors, and recognize that that is consistent with current CDC guidelines. Thank you. And I can stand for any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Any discussion, council? Okay. Councilmember Fulch.
Thank you, Your Honor. I was looking at the CDC website here, and it's guidance for COVID-19 prevention in K through 12 schools. And so one of my points about the hockey rink is that it's full of kids all the time, right? And so the CDC guidelines actually do say that that they're recommending universal indoor masking, that the CDC recommends schools maintain, and then in addition, 3 feet physical distance for students in the classroom and such. But everything for children does say that they're asking for them to be masked because they can't be vaccinated. currently if they're under 12. And so, I still feel that we have an obligation to protect our employees, but I feel that we should be considering, as we go into the hockey season in, the end of October, when things start to ramp up into November, because, the rink is full of kids all the time, and if they're being required to wear masks while they're in school, it just makes sense that we're extending that to other places where they're gathering for sporting events. And so I think that we should continue to monitor what the recommendations are for rinks. I just spent my last weekend at the Blaine Super Rink. For those of you who are unfamiliar with that, it's a ginormous facility that the city of Blaine owns, and there's at least 6 rinks in it, if I'm not mistaken. And what I was in attendance for was actually it was the junior hockey league, and so that was 18-plus players for the most part. But I can tell you there was nobody there that was wearing masks at all in the entire facility, even though it did say when you were entering the building that masks were being recommended. And so I think that if we're going to be having our community's children who are unvaccinated within our ice rink, that we should be taking into consideration what it is that we can do to help mitigate the spread within the ice rink. And so I don't have the answers. I didn't have enough time to do thorough investigatory work on, what the recommendations are within rinks, but I just know if we don't put up good signage at the door that's bright, and vibrant and blinking, I think people are just gonna walk right past it. And no one's gonna be putting on masks and protecting our community's children. So just, food for thought. I think that, I think it's one thing when you're coming into City Hall here and people have to go through the front doors and, there's only one entrance and it's very quiet in here and subdued and people are respectful, right? And they're gonna do what staff are requesting. It's a completely different ball game when you go into the ice rink and there's tons of kids running around in every direction and parents are getting, depending on, their age, maybe they're helping, get kids ready, or they're just waiting in the stands and they're watching the game and things of that nature. I just think that there's gonna be a lot of people there with young children, and that we should be mindful about how it is that we're monitoring the facility. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Councilmember Fulch. Councilmember Fox.
Just to echo that slightly, I know the Minnesota High School League doesn't govern the hockey rink, but it does say that universal indoor masking for all students, staff, and teachers and visitors to schools, regardless of vaccination status, is recommended. So I just want to echo really clear signage, if that's what we're going to commit to, making sure that there are plenty of signs, and if this is our true recommendation, encouraging folks as best we can to please mask and keep people safe. I think if that's what we're going to do, let's do it really well. And I think an update on the ice rink specifically, outside of anecdotal evidence, would be really helpful at the next meeting. I know that there are people in and out all the time, so that might be helpful just for us to move forward with that decision in particular.
Thank you, Councilmember Fox. Any additional comments? All right, yes, Dan.
Just clarification, you asked for some sort of additional information about the ice arena at the next council meeting. At this point, unless something changed out in the community, or if council requested, I don't anticipate this item being on the agenda in 2 weeks. So I'm not sure, one, what you're wanting reported back, and two, if bringing it at the council meeting's the right place. So it's just a question of what is the number of visitors at the arena. I can send you an email in the next couple of days if it's just a matter of needing information, but I'm not quite sure what was asked.
Your Honor, if that's all right.
Yes, Councilmember Fox.
Not necessary to put it on the agenda, that's fine, you and I can touch base offline about it. But just curious about, you gave us some information about how many folks are coming in and what their temperament about masking is at City Hall. It would be interesting at a different facility with the public coming through, just anecdotally again, perhaps, what that would look like. So it doesn't have to be particular or on the agenda, but I would like some information.
Thank you, Councilmember Fox. Councilmember Vaughn.
Thank you, Your Honor, and I can help Councilmember Fox. I can tell you, there's not a whole lot of masking going on in ice arenas. We may talk about lots of kids coming in and out, but they're not always our community kids. These our partners that rent ice from us, from high school level to youth level, they're coming from all over the state, if not outside our state. But I can tell you that those organizations, even the Hastings Hockey Boost, for example, they're going to defer to Minnesota Hockey, or there's a high school league. Those organizations are not making any, they're making recommendations. So that's why I support staff saying we should stick with the recommendations, because we're not getting a lot of support from our end users that are making mandates. So that's put a lot of weight on the staff to say, I need you to answer the phone because I get the calls every day. What's your policy? What do you guys have at your, because they're coming from Minnetonka or wherever they're coming from. I just think that those organizations need to get together and help us set the message, because it's not very good. They literally are saying, recommend. That's what we're seeing, so.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Vaughn. All right. Any other discussion? All right. Council, do you have any announcements? Okay, I have a few. Happy birthday last week to Councilmember Brox. And as far as summer programs at Levy Park, we are getting nearer to the end. Friday through Monday, September 24th to the 27th, the Story Walk along the trail from Levy Park to J.C. Park is happening. Tuesday, September 28th, performance in the park with Benjamin Damascaruth and Ruth. Sponsored by Smead Manufacturing, the Metropolitan Regional Arts Council. The city is partnering with Tennis Sanitation and Certified Recycling for our fall cleanup event this year, September 20th through October 1st. There will be a free paper shredding event on Saturday, September 2nd, from 9 to noon. I'm sorry, I think that's supposed to be October 2nd, from 9 to noon. On Thursday, September 23rd, Councilmember Fox and I are representing the city at the Leaders in Local Government Awards hosted by the St. Paul Area Chamber. Our People Movement Plan is one of 3 that have been nominated for planning, land use, and public works category. So more to come on that. Tuesday, September 21st, 7 p.m., the Heritage Preservation Commission meeting is. Thursday, the 23rd at 5 p.m. is an Operations Committee. Monday, the 27th, 7 p.m. is a Planning Commission. Monday, October 4th at 5:30 City Council, we will have a workshop on our emergency operations plan, and 7 p.m. council. If there are no other announcements, council, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Brox? No one wants to adjourn. Councilmember Fulch? No discussion. All those in favor of adjournment state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, state by saying nay. That motion has prevailed. Thank you.